Michelle Obama, who medically said that she would not be attending this inauguration, also did not attend Jimmy Carter's funeral here in Washington a few weeks ago.
Obama's office did not say why the former First Lady would not be here today. They did say she had a prior engagement during the Carter funeral, but again, pointedly did not offer a reason for her absence today.
We're still taking a look inside the Capitol Rotunda there on the left-hand side. And on the right, that is again the Capital One Arena, where Donald Trump, after he is inaugurated, will be making his way. And what would be the inaugural parade is now subbed in for an indoor event there at Capital One Arena here in Washington. People have been gathering there for hours, and they will be still waiting for some hours before the new president arrives. But these are a lot of his strong supporters, and assuredly they will still be there by the time he shows up.
And as they watched the images from the rotunda on the big screen inside the arena, some boos as Mike Pence walked in, and then a lot more boos as Bill and Hillary Clinton showed up. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please take your seats.
Folks in the Capital One Arena are able to watch all of the ceremonies and events from the Capitol Rotunda on the Jumbotron screen there in the middle of the
See, we have at least one person who's up for the new executive producer of America in the oligarchy. Welcome to the oligarchy. I know you could be watching other shit on the internet. Thanks for watching my shit. Anyway, I should say straight away, I'm drinking coffee and Sauce Essentials. Was not familiar with it, and it's going great. I would say I'm trying not to vape all the time, but sometimes you gotta vape. I haven't really looked at myself, and that's a thing I got to do sometimes. King's Kush Sauce is the brand. It is indeed live resin, which we love. We love live resin around these parts. If you're gonna vape, I say vape live resin. So yeah, I'm looking at this event. The first thought that has come to mind here, this is going to be my first political assessment. I want to make sure that Barack and Michelle are okay, because I mean, at the very least, this person has to be understanding that her life cannot be dictated by White House responsibilities. You know what I'm saying? It's not. Hi, Gloria. How are you? That's not the way that she's going to live her life. And that's all I'm going to say about the Obamas, who I think are one of history's great power couples, unless we end up having Melania and Donald Trump. Are they one of the great power couples in history? It's a very sad time for me. I mean, you have to look at it as opportunity. If you want to do that cliche about crisis and opportunity coexisting, I think there's an opportunity here. We just might we might not reap the benefits in our lifetime, but some changes for young people. I don't know. I'm just trying to make it feel better because I think this is a pivotal moment in history, and just the idea that you're going to have one guy at the helm, such a concentration of power in the hands of someone like Donald Trump. Not even someone like Donald Trump. We're talking about Donald Trump because there's no one like him. We have to be honest about that. It's an anomaly situation that the whole world's going to contend with. I talked to that guy once, Donald Trump. I talked to him really briefly because he hung up on me. Hold on for a second. I've probably said this before. What am I doing? I would like to get into some other things here. I was reading a great article about uh, Trump and the way that he's sort of taken the tools of Hollywood, of reality television, and apply them to politics and making this extraordinary political career, because you see it, the way he rolled out those cabinet appointees, one more shocking than the other. That was straight out of reality TV. This is important stuff for me to know because I didn't really watch this stuff, but it's been applied here. I mean, obviously, we've got great concerns out here on the West Coast about Donald Trump and what he's going to do, what he's going to be. Uh, but first and foremost is the fire. There's a wildfire bill. Yeah, wildfire relief bill that's coming up in March, as early as March, and now these people are talking about conditions being applied to that wildfire relief. And, that's going to be a political football. What's the new thing people say? The likes of which we've never seen. Um, it could be conditions like rerouting how water goes through the state, and that's not something we've seen happen before. Gavin Newsom says he's going to protect. Uh, Welcome, Don Button. Hey, Sman, is that how you say your name? Thanks for joining. Anyway, the water conditions are being controlled from DC is just something we haven't had to contend with before. That's why you can't deny the significance of the presidency that's here. Um, there's someone coming through, a black woman in an amazing hat and red stripe ensemble who I don't recognize. Maybe she's a bodyguard, but she's bringing in Barron and the rest of the Trumps. Just kind of interesting. It's interesting to stand alone watching a inauguration that's happening indoors. I didn't watch the Reagan inauguration, which was indoors, but the closed nature of it changes the entire feeling of the inauguration. I think they're supposed to be out there in the cold, and we've got this new indoor setting, and I think that it's fitting because it's going to be new. Maybe this is the opening ceremony to our demise, uh, but but it's eminently watchable. How are you doing? Are there reasons if you have, you can actually, I think you can send text to me if you have questions. I'll definitely take them. I'd love to know how you're watching the inauguration, if you're watching the inauguration at all. But I had wanted to talk about the newsletter, not so much the newsletter as the new podcast. We're working on it, really changing it, and we're going to make it worthwhile for people who are actually spending money here. Um, that's one thing you guys can be excited about. Hold on for 1 second. You have to hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. Hold on. Have you watched the inauguration before? I'm kind of a guy who tunes into it. In fact, when I wrote my first book, in the introduction, there's the inauguration of George Bush because that was happening around then, and it felt really consequential. Because no, I'm sure people here are old enough to remember that election where it went down to the hanging Chad in Florida. And I thought that was a presidential moment of consequence, and I actually put it in my memoir. But otherwise, I don't remember inaugurations. I'd be curious to know if you do. So yeah, and my point was that I'm changing the podcast, and my co-host, and I have a co-host now. He's a great friend of mine from Oregon. He's I don't want to give away who he is, but I met him at the LA Film Festival, I think in 2010. He made a documentary I really liked, and he happened to move to Portland, and we hung out a bunch, and we collaborated on a documentary that was, it was going places, and there was a problem with sound that ruined a day's shooting, and it just sort of lost its momentum. That was one of my first forays into trying to make films, anyway, but our relationship remained. His mother was a great artist, lived in Portland. I was very proud to know her. And my man also he spins at a bar in Portland, and I think he's still spinning his father's records. His father had like this great record collection, and he was making a thing of it. So there you see Jared Kushner. I don't know if you're watching along with me, but Jared Kushner is making his way in. He's sitting next to Marco Rubio, and I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of stagecraft. I see Lee Zeldin, the congressman from uh, most of these people. Jeff Bezos. Oh my God, this is the row with Elon Musk. I hadn't quantified that row. Um, Yeah, it's weird. You know what it feels like? It feels even more of a closed culture than it's going to be. It feels like foreshadows how inside the insiders are going to be in the Trump administration. So I think this thing is starting because they introduced Dan Quayle. Dan Quayle from Indiana. I know we remember him. He's not. We're going to see some of the most milk toast figures in national political history with these Republican VPs. You don't get much more milk toast than Mike Pence, but Dan Quayle might do it. Indiana flavor, my goodness. You know it when you don't taste it. um, yeah, that thing I said the other day about how you become a worse person the better you get at the stuff where you're looking into a camera and not into a real person. I never don't feel that. Even when I look like I'm being comfortable, there's like a dread in here. Um, my real dread is I thought I lost my vape. That was real dread. The Clintons are here.
Now the former presidents start to make their entrances into the rotunda.
Yeah,
Former President Bill Clinton.
it's an odd feeling. You got to be with me. Pence, yes, Pence. What about Pence? Is there anything more? Oh, yeah, you're saying he could be more milk toast now. Anybody ever been to Indiana? They're pretty representative. I know some cool people in Indiana, so I'm not going to talk too much shit. But it's one of the last places that's getting weed. To put it that way, you know. But I know some great people from there. And Oscar Robertson came from there. If you're a sports fan, you got to appreciate that the great Oscar Robertson came from Indianapolis. Yeah. What do you think? This is my old work shirt from the playground days. I don't know if anybody's following that, but my after school self. Then we have the Bushes. This pomp and circumstance. I know it's a necessary part of the culture, but I don't really understand why. Yeah, I do understand. Understand why Trump moved it indoors. Period. And I'm sure there were crowd size issues if you really wanted to drill down in terms of who's going to come out on a cold day. It's all about stagecraft. It's never not about stagecraft, and I think that's the thing that the Democratic Party failed most at. They failed to recognize the importance of stagecraft. Trump understood. He understood racism as a thing that you can lean on to help build a base, and that this culture will never ever stop wanting to be entertained. You know. Yeah, I feel weird for Barack going there alone, man. I feel like he and Michelle had a conversation, and he did not win. But you know what? This is 21st century marriage. That's the thing about Obama's. They're modern as hell. Um, but he knows it's going to get talked about as he's walking up the aisle. He knows that shit's getting talked about. He's yeah, he just looked down like, oh shit. Where was I? I don't know where I was. I was. I mean, this is I think this is actually kind of a sad occasion, and I shouldn't be laughing so hard. But that's kind of how I cope, you know. We all have our own things, but I recognize the solemnity of what's happening here. You know. Yeah, I don't think Barack tried that hard to. I don't think Barack tried that hard to hide his unhappiness. You know. Um, yeah, because I can see him. Well, you know what? I'm not talking about Barack for reasons I don't want to get into here. I am not talking about Barack. Some of you may know, but what else do we have here? We have the Supreme Court justices coming in here. Yeah. So I wonder if you think that these people are these are Republicans in the room who see people who are never Trumpers and Democrats and Republicans. Do you think that they think those people are panicking, or are they just you know? I mean, when you're in that room, there's such a difference between what you think and what the rest of the world thinks, the rest of the American populace thinks. I think we're having a moment of silence. I think I need to be quiet. No, I don't, because I think this is a solemn ceremony for all the reasons that they're not talking about. So I'm not going to be quiet here. Let's see. Who is this person walking out? Is this like the benediction? Is that what we're doing? I was wondering. That was the woman I was talking about earlier. Yeah, she's definitely. Uh, she didn't seem to fit in, if you know what I mean. And you maybe don't know what I'm talking about, but she's astride the stage, astride the podium. She's to the left of the podium with a hat, and she's black. I should probably say that part. And she's black. Let's see what we've got here. This is so slow. Oh, wait. I know that guy. Yeah, that's the guy who wouldn't shake Kamala's hand.
You see Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff, and next to him, First Lady Jill Biden, about to make their entrance into the rotunda. First, Donald Trump's children.
I'd love to know what you think about Barron Trump. You know, he's so not heard from, and I don't know what they're grooming him for. You know, that's the one thing that, again, maybe this is just this sort of reality show aesthetic where they keep him under wraps completely and then just let him pop out, you know, and become this political figure. Yeah, I'm not excited about the future and what we're up against in terms of people who don't want to live in an oligarchy, who don't want to see kleptocracy go unpunished, because there's a lot of money to plunder. While they're punishing California, there's a lot of money to plunder. Yeah, Barron's going to be a cold-blooded killer. Let's not kid ourselves. It's going to be such a whitening. I mean, I think the culture goes on. My theory is, my term I use is a 72-degree fascist regime. You know, it won't. In general, we won't feel it. People in the main won't know it because the news media is going to be so super soft. The big news media, and it won't hurt most people, but it's going to hurt some of us. So the more conscious you are, the more painful this is going to be. I don't know. Maybe I'm. Do you think I'm overstating this? I think it's a transition, the likes of which we've never seen. Hmm. And I'm sure every black person in there has been sat in camera shot, but I don't know. There's a military guy. Corey, they have to let Corey in. I don't know. Yeah, the idea of the umbrella over the head of the president to protect them from the cold. That's again an institution that's done as of today. I don't know. They'll be holding it next one. They'll hold in a sports arena, and there'll be branding sold. I'm not kidding. I'm just saying we have to think about. We cannot be surprised. That's one of the things that bugs me. Not so much about progressives, but about the left, liberal, mainstream political figure, the kind of MSNBC host who professes to be surprised. I don't know that that's the role they're supposed to play because Donald Trump's the biggest content creator NBC's ever had, but they express surprise, and it really is hard to believe after a certain amount of years. But yeah, this is going to be branded content. The event's going to be sold. The rights to the next inauguration. Let's not kid ourselves. What is this silent moment here? Okay, so we got the VP spouses.
First Lady Jill Biden and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff officially making their entrance into the rotunda.
This is the first time I've gone live like this, and thanks for hanging around because I'm not really sure how entertaining I need to be. How much talking is too much talking? Can I assume that that you two are watching the inauguration, or you could just be watching me? I don't know if the volume's too high or too low, but yeah. So I was reading that article about Trump and his relationship to uh, reality TV, just how he's implemented it, and yeah, you can't do it without us. He's a master of marketing, and maybe that's real. I think that's a pretty. Um, I don't want to say dark because I don't want to be racist, but it's a pretty unfortunate art. It's a pretty. Uh, it's not necessarily a talent-driven art. The craft, I guess, of marketing is just how much you're willing to manipulate people, and maybe you can employ actual talent doing it, but fundamentally, I think that's the aim. I was thinking about Altadena just because of the fire, and that that literary festival I did with Touré and Danielle Smith and all those people. That was in 2003. It was when I was putting on my book. I was super high, but I was thinking about this idea. It was an amphitheater, and I was trying to find venues around town that had the artist, the performer, the reader at a lower level than the audience. So there wasn't this looking up at the person, like there's some sort of God, or even just better than you. The whole idea was to find one, and that's where I found it in Altadena. I didn't even think that was possible. I didn't think there was going to be anything in LA that did that, and it was just happened to be this place that was up the road from me in South Pasadena, in a park where I started playing with my kids there, and that's how I came across the amphitheater, and it was perfect. And it's not there anymore. It's gone. Everything is gone. I am still having a hard time looking at the newspapers, the pictures of it, because I don't know. I'm being very sensitive about this thing. I think probably because I wasn't here. Anything about Snoop Dogg is that's interesting to me. Is one of the really great takes I've heard about what he did is that he didn't know. He thought he was doing a corporate event, and he didn't know it would get publicized like that. I find that hard to believe in some level because Snoop is a savvy guy. His team is savvy, and maybe he just believed that the hit he would take would be outweighed by the rewards he got. And if you think about it, whatever monetary fee they gave Snoop Dogg to perform at that crypto event last night or Saturday night, when was it? This weekend, whatever they gave him, it was it paled in comparison to the kind of clout he got in that room. I mean, he gets invited to all those rich people's events, that super mega rich cryptocurrency crowd, and those who love them. They didn't know those songs, which is crazy. He was doing nothing but a G thing. They didn't know it. How how white do you have to be to just be unfamiliar with that beat? There was just pro forma dancing and moving out there. It was, maybe that's just a highlight I saw, and they were breakdancing after that. I don't know. I can't rightly say. But yeah, that Snoop Dogg thing, the aftermath is going to be something for him. And, you know, he's not going to have fewer fans. He's seen what Kid Rock did. Kid Rock used to perform with Eminem and Dr. Dre, like when he was first coming up. So he's watched whatever. Is his name Robert? Kid Rock watched his audience transform, and I'm sure he's watched his pocketbook swell, because Kid Rock has nothing without MAGA. And yeah, Snoop made a move. It's disappointing as fuck because we lose one of our avatars, and I think it's the next few years are going to be just full of that. Can anyone you tell me whether the audio is competing? If anyone could tell me whether the audio is from the computer, the actual inauguration is competing with me, I'd be glad to know. But I think it was a calculation that Snoop Dogg made, and my point was, I think that we're going to see people disappoint us over the coming years. You know, there's going to be capitulation. There's going to be capitulation from people that you admire, and it's just going to kind of fall on itself. You know, I hope the Democrats can stem the political bleeding. And I'm not a Democrat most of the time. I'm a Democrat right now, and I feel like now is not the time to leave that party. But yeah, I feel. And I guess I'm gonna have to stop saying I'm not usually a Democrat, because I think what the alternative is not sexy. Yeah, they've got to hold tight for 2026. Is that what it is? Yeah, the midterms, and because what does Trump like to say? If they don't, we're not going to have a country anymore. You know, I don't. The thing I hate the most is I have to be patriotic. I am not patriotic by nature. I just don't want to live under a fascist regime. Let's see what else we have here. Uh, I haven't even checked on the inauguration lately. I'm watching the AP's feed, you know, because I do want to have some sort of objectivity. I imagine that MSNBC is reining it in this today as NBC. And you know, even as I was reading that Hollywood Reporter article about Trump and his way with reality TV, his understanding us, that they should have said the way he plays us like a fucking fiddle. There's an adjustment in tone about him. It's not quite reverence, but it's in the ballpark of reverence. You have to excuse me because I really badly sat on my toes. Yeah. Um, but I guess we can't ever forget, they're bringing it into full-fledged oligarchy, but we've been consuming him like a madman. I mean, this is decades of consuming. Why he moves the needle. There's a certain amount of genius in how he has kept himself in the picture financially, but he's always leaned on his media relationships. He always did. When he was flirting with irrelevance in the 80s and into the 90s, he's gone down a few times, but he always knew that the thirst for content could bring his white ass back. He could always come back. Um, he knows he knows the country, not just its susceptibility to racism, but its fascination with wealth. You know, these aren't the things that we put in the Constitution, but they're fundamentally who America is. Yeah, I I don't know if this indoor thing makes the event more more memorable. It does put a different imprimatur on the event, you know. I don't know. I think I got used to seeing a coalition of the Democrats at their events, you know, because the Obama administration that's 8 years. We had Biden, and we've had these two white ones. You know, if you go back even to uh, the Bush wins, I don't think the Bush wins had a Republican Party that as white as what Trump has here. Not the Republican Party, the constituency, the people in that room. It really articulates that distinction to have it indoors, I think. The proletariat is fucking locked out. You know, this is really the emperors in the room and the people doing their bidding. And of course, the Democratic senators and the Imhoff family, the Biden family. Maybe some of these performers aren't Republicans, but I'm thinking they are going to be. I do feel that it's an indictment on the Republicans that they don't have they don't have any taste, you know? I mean, I know there are people, I think David Lynch may have been a Republican. There are Republicans who have taste, but in terms of the party, when they have their balls, when they're having, you know, I remember that even with the Reagan administration, that their entertainment stuff was like Vince Lombardi, what's his name? Guy Lombardo era stuff, big band sorts of things in the '80s, you know, and the Trump stuff is just hokum. They're very big on hokum. There's a lot of I don't know what to call it except hokum, cheesy shit. The cheesier the better. Kid Rock, Hulk Hogan. This is cheese, American cheese. Wrestling is American cheese. That's the other thing you can count on. You count on racism, entertain yourself to death, and cheese. American loves cheese. I think we're really Wisconsin at heart. Cultural Wisconsin. There's J.D. Vance. Speaking of cultural Wisconsin, oh man, that guy has wheedled his way in. He's sort of the epitome of the Trump followers, not the hardcore base, but these people who said, "I can get in on this," and it's the opportunist that's in the Trump superstar. You know, the Russell Brand sort of thing. You know, your career's over. I can get in over here. And J.D. Vance's career wasn't necessarily over. He made his way in those Republican circles, but you know, the turn from who he was, the hillbilly elegy uh, guy, promoter, to where he is today, the values he seems to represent today, it's pretty remarkable. I don't know. So I'm watching this on the Associated Press YouTube feed, and the comments are going crazy. I don't even think of anyone as watching the Associated Press page, and you know, if you're turning in the Associated Press, why are you putting in "Let's Go Brandon"? Huh? It is fascinating, man. I can't imagine what the economic markets look like right now, just with all the unparalleled presidential commerce. You know, like he didn't he launch a cryptocurrency a day or two ago, and again, I think there's going to be branding on the White House by the time this is. Yeah. Oh man, the White House brought to you by Microsoft. Um, and it's all getting normalized more each day. That's the fascinating part. And I've wanted to drink coffee throughout this whole day. Now my coffee's cold, and I blame you.
Mr. John Bessler, Mrs. Kelly Johnson, Mrs. Iris Weinschall Schumer, and Mrs. Jennifer Scalise.
Okay, let's listen for a second. Oh, Trump's in the house. He's all right. Here we go. This is happening. And I think you bring it inside, the assassination chances go down to zero, basically. So if you're not watching, they're piping in someone watching on big screen, some people who are actually hardy enough to brave the cold are watching. Most of them are wearing MAGA caps. Uh, I see an Asian person, but it's mostly white people. That's what's happening. Meanwhile, the first lady's in there. She's wearing a hat. So the black lady wore a hat, and this Melania is wearing a hat. So that's the radicals in the room. I don't know. Yeah, Barron is legit 6'6". He's got to be 6'6". You know that guy's never touched a basketball. No, that's the thing. You know nothing about Barron. You don't. But he's getting hella airtime. I think there's an unstated rule that you leave the kids alone. You don't pry into them until they're 18. But even so, I mean, I don't know how much we know about the Obama girls. Not that I want to. I don't say things about the Obamas.
Ranking member of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Deb Fisher.
Except I do think there was a conversation had that was.
Hakeem Jeffries, and Senate Majority Secretary, the Honorable Robert
I'm
Johnson.
done talking about them. This is the moment. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
I really don't.
Joseph R. Biden Jr. and Vice President of the United States, the Honorable Kamala Devi Harris Jr.
I don't. Oh, they're booing her. They're booing them, I should say. That kind of went away. That did happen. And again, that's something that's articulated even more indoors. You know. I find the venue thing fascinating. I did not watch the 1980 inauguration. Maybe you watched it, but I've seen the footage of Reagan. It does seem like a different event, but that's also a very different Republican Party. There's no way that Jimmy Carter would have there's no way Jimmy Carter got booed in 1980.
Ladies and gentlemen, escorting the Vice President-elect, the Executive Director for the Joint Congressional Committee, escorting the Vice President, Mr. Michael Wagner, the Executive Senate Deputy
There's some
Sergeant
noise.
and Doorkeeper, Jason Bell, and House Deputy Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Sean Keating.
I don't know what to make of the silence here. Oh, here we go. Fanfare. Fanfare.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President-elect of the United States, the Honorable J.D. Vance. The Vice President-elect of the United States.
This is a weird time to say it, but I've been watching Severance. I saw the first episode of Severance, and it's something I swore I was not going to watch. And I got to say, it's compelling. I didn't want to let anything else in my head because I'm writing. I'm trying to write this one specific thing, and I have a finite amount of bandwidth that I allow for movies. No series right now. And I swear to God, that's going to rope me in. You're watching that thing. The first season was so enigmatic, and it's funny to be watching that when David Lynch is decides, because David Lynch is the person who let that sort of thing get on TV in the first place. I don't know if you remember or even caught it first run of Twin Peaks, but yeah, TV didn't know how to act. you know. And now you see something like Severance, and it's not like treated like it's rudimentary, because weird is always going to be weird, but it's not it's not earth
Ladies and
shaking.
gentlemen, escorting the president-elect.
Oh wow, here we go.
Director
Let's
for the
see what
Joint
we have here.
Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Elizabeth Farah. House Sergeant at Arms, the Honorable William P. McFarland. Senate Sergeant at Arms and Doorkeeper, the Honorable Jennifer A. Hemingway. Senate Majority Leader, the Honorable John Thune. And the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies. House Democratic Leader, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries. House Majority Leader, the Honorable Steve Scalise. Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Mike Johnson. Senate Democratic Leader, the Honorable Charles E. Schumer. Ranking Member of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Deb Fisher. And Chairwoman of the Joint Congressional
I feel
Committee
like
on Inaugural Ceremonies, the
Mike
Honorable
Johnson
Amy
is the
Klobuchar.
most powerful little person we've had in God knows how long. Maybe my lifetime. Maybe there was some, because when I think about the speaker in the '60s, I think about somebody like LBJ, and I just don't remember anyone as small as him who's had that much clout. Let's give him, I guess, props for that. I don't know. It's a fluky way that he became speaker anyway, but it's just no. I'm just saying it's worth noting. Mike Pence and his height is pretty groundbreaking, you know.
President-elect of the United States,
All right, so that
the
gets
Honorable Donald John Trump.
here it is. This man is coming on stage now. You know, we know there's going to be a lot of applause. You don't really need to hear it. You don't need to hear the applause for Donald J. Trump. Oh, it was an air kiss. He didn't even kiss his wife. That's some transactional shit, man. It was an air kiss. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? Why do we pretend these motherfuckers are married? You know, an air kiss. My God. Oh, look at this shit. These guys are as excited as they possibly could be. As there's the dark skinned guy. Is that Sergey? I'm trying to figure out who he is. I don't necessarily know who rich people in America are, but it's funny. Are foreigners? Is foreign wealth invited to this? Elon aside, are they invited to this, or is it just a white America thing? And look at this. There's the bro. There's media. Yeah. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please
Very
be seated.
quiet. This is not the place to get thrown out of. You don't want to get thrown out of the inauguration. I'd have that on my resume. They bounced me. There's a lot of Bitcoin stuff in the comments, you know. I think we have to come to terms with that's going to be a facet of society. You may even have to learn how it works. I don't really want to learn how it works, but I feel it. I don't feel anything. It doesn't take a genius to see that with the president of the United States behind it, there's going to be some
Please welcome the
movement.
Chairwoman of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Amy Klobuchar.
How mixed are her feelings?
Good morning, everyone.
Now, do you think like people
Welcome
like Amy
to the
Klobuchar
60th
are
presidential
in on it?
inauguration. Today, President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Vance will take their oaths of office, and we will witness the peaceful transfer of power at the heart of our democracy.
A little shade right there, a little bit of shade. Klobuchar knows what she's talking about.
For the past year, I've chaired
Is she a
the
final
inaugural
edit?
ceremony committee, which includes the leadership of Congress from both parties. We thank the committee and Capitol staff and law enforcement who worked so hard over the last year, and especially the last 3 days. You've done a beautiful job, and you have shown grace under pressure.
I wonder how they landed on Klobuchar. Is this assigned to her?
This year is our enduring democracy.
I don't know. I'm sure there's a committee that she's
so
on
many
a year-round
vice
thing to make sure
presidents
that
here
it
today
stays on track.
is truly a testament to that endurance. We welcome President Biden and Dr. Biden.
So this is
We
not that
welcome Vice
interesting.
President Harris and Doug Emhoff.
No, it's a necessary part of the
President
democracy
Obama,
process, but
Clinton and Secretary Clinton.
I'm
President Bush
much more
and
interested
Laura
in the
Bush,
comments that are
Vice
flowing
President
through, and
Pence,
not
Vice
just
President Quayle and Marilyn Quayle.
the crypto
Justices
stuff,
of the
but
United
justice for
States
Trump
Supreme Court
is interesting
are
to
with
me.
us. All 9 of them, I counted.
Puerto Rico
And
loves
of course,
Trump.
the Trump and Vance families.
Hmm.
This ceremony marks what will soon be 250 years of our democracy.
I just find it interesting because
elevated by the will of the people,
the most vanilla
promise to be
news
faithful to our
source coverage you
Constitution,
can get
to
is the
cherish and
Associated
defend it.
Press.
It is the
I
moment
think anyone who's
when they
here is a
become,
serious
as we all
person,
should
but
be,
that may be
the guardians of our country.
it's
Through
obvious
war and
delusion.
peace, through adversity and prosperity, we hold
It's interesting to
this
see that people
inauguration
all
every
over the
4
world
years.
have
And today it falls on Martin Luther King
a
Day.
horse in the race.
A
No
further
one's.
reminder that we must
Maybe there are
strive to
people out there. I'm
uphold the
sure there are
values
people out there who don't
enshrined in
know
our
who he is or
Constitution,
are
the
indifferent.
freedoms,
But
the
there's very
liberties,
little
and as is
indifference that I've
inscribed on the
seen.
entrance of the United States Supreme Court, equal justice under law.
But this is what we wanted. We want full political engagement. When you get the full political engagement, you have empowered people who are really
All who are watching it across the country,
underinformed or informed by
ordinary people
ruse,
doing
not
extraordinary
fully
things.
engaged, and that's just
Kennedy,
a
who at
fact
one
that
point worked as
you
a
want that
senator
in a
in this
democracy.
building and would often walk through this very rotunda, once said,
Maybe there'll be a page
citizen,
with this, and I'll
regardless of
include
interest in
that song
politics,
"Democracy
holds
Sucks"
office.
because I
Every
think
one of
about it
us
all the
is in
time.
a
I don't
position
think
of
democracy sucks. I think
responsibility.
there are
With
it's a
that
faulty thing,
responsibility
and
of citizenship
I think
comes an
that
obligation
maybe
not to seek out
5,
malice,
10
as
years down the
President
road,
Clinton
15 years down the
once
road, if we're
reminded us,
lucky,
but to view others with a
we'll look
generosity of
back on
spirit
democracy
despite our
fondly
differences.
and
With that
also
responsibility
recognize
of
the
leadership
flaws.
comes
I
an
do think
obligation
democracy
to
was
stand our
inclined
ground
before
when we
motherfucker
must
got
and find
involved.
common ground when we can.
Anyone who follows wealth
With
disparity
everything
needs that.
swirling
Anyone who
around
knows
us,
about
the hot mess of
gerrymandering and
division, it is
redistricting
on
knows
all
that
of us, to
democracy was
quote
in
an
decline.
incredible
It's not the
songwriter
sort of
who
thing that
just
your big
happened to
media
be
was going
born
to
in
cover,
my
but
state,
it was
to
happening.
ensure that our nation's
I hope I'm
democracy
not
is our
fighting with
shelter
Amy
from
here
the
when I'm
storm.
talking, but yeah, I
There's
think
a reason this ceremony
he's
takes
just the
place at the Capitol.
nail in the coffin, and the
In
person who
other
gets to
countries,
shape
it might be
what
in a
it is
presidential
next.
palace or a gilded
I think what it
executive
is
office
next is
building.
just
Here
what
it
it's
is
been, but
traditionally held
accelerated,
at the Capitol,
with the
the People's Home.
concentration just
It
of
is a
his
fitting
friends. It's
reminder
interesting
of
to
the
see who's going
system
to be
of
left
checks
out. And
and
again, I refer to
balances
that
that is
Hollywood
the very
Reporter article
foundation of our
about
government. 3 equal
the way that he's
branches
dealing
of
with
government.
the way that Trump is
That is
dealing
how
with
for
Hollywood,
nearly
his whole
250
love-hate thing
years
with it.
our
He's
great
finally going
American
to have that
experiment,
requited
grounded
love
in
that
the
he's
rule of
looked for.
law,
And
has
some of the
endured.
ways that he's going to
So,
flex his
as we
muscle and
inaugurate
win them over,
a
every
new
little win he
president
gets,
and vice
thing he
president,
does for
let
us,
us remember
you
that the
Hollywood
power
has
of
to give
those
something
in
back that they
this
don't want to.
room comes from the people. The
But
construction
there's the whole thing
workers
about
who build our
bootlegs.
country,
Hollywood
the teachers and
is
healthcare
not
workers
cracked down
who
on
nurture us,
bootlegs
the troops
for reasons that
defending
are,
our freedoms, and yes,
First
the
Amendment related.
firefighters in Los
And
Angeles putting themselves
he's
on
gonna
the
come in
line
and
for
crack down on that.
us.
And it'll probably be to the benefit of the industry.
Our democracy's strength and grit must match theirs. May God bless our nation. Thank you.
So yeah, weird day for Amy. I am 100% certain. But Joe Biden was looking at her like, you didn't make an ass of yourself. Thanks, Dr. Joe. Yeah, you wonder, these people are such hardened politicians. You wonder how they really feel in a moment like this.
Endurance through the years is the
knowing what's
ultimate
coming
test.
and knowing what they got
Persevere
into the
through time
political
is
game
the
for in the
truest
first place. It's
measure
got to be
of
really
an
hard.
idea, an institution, and a nation. Our founders wrote the Constitution so that America could withstand all the twists and turns of time.
I'm not sure
They
whether I've
wrote it to
actually
guide us
told the
and to
story about
preserve
the
forever
first time I saw The
the right
Apprentice,
of
but
life.
I was getting my hair done. I was with this woman. I was with this actress, woman friend named Amy Perry. She was a great friend, but we went down to Orange County. I didn't have a car, of course, and Amy took me down to County to a woman's house named Jennifer. Jennifer, I knew her. God, I forget how I knew Jennifer. Jennifer had dreadlocks, and Jennifer did mine from time to time. Maybe, yeah. It doesn't matter how I knew Jennifer, but she parked me in front of this TV, and it was The Apprentice, and I didn't realize what we were watching. I'd never seen the show. I think I knew of its existence, but I hadn't seen it, and I instantly realized how much I hated it. I just really hated it. And like I said, I'd talked to Trump before, and I didn't have great feelings about him. I don't think I knew his politics beyond the fact that he had put that ad in the New York Times asking the death penalty for those kids who did nothing but went to prison for the Central Park rape. But I didn't know much about his politics. I just thought he was a clown, you know. And I said, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen." I think I wish I could ask Amy Perry or Jennifer, because I know them both still. I'm pretty sure I said, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen," and I didn't know the ramifications of how bad it is, but I definitely recognized it as a kind of horror. But yeah, I guess other people have said that they've seen. Yeah, the Simpsons made jokes about President Trump. Maybe I should have seen it coming, but I didn't see it coming. There's a really ridiculous piece of audio out there from not Oregon Public Broadcasting, but it's something. I forget. It's a public radio in the Northwest. About me, just crowing, just talking shit about how Trump's never going to be president. I thought it was a great piece of audio. For a while, I was sending it around, and then I realized you could not have been more wrong. What's it called? The state. There's a state from like Northern California up to uh, the Northwest. I forget what it's called, but that's what the public radio is. I hate that I'm blanking on this state, but it's an ideology, and you see signs for it in Northern California and rural parts, And that's the thing, that there are some inequities that need to be addressed in terms of California. I think the lack of power that the rural counties have in California is something that needs to be corrected. I I I think meth, for example, proliferated because the sheriffs were underfunded in the counties in California in the 80s. And don't get me wrong, there's no reason. The money's there. The money was there. You can fucking pay for the sheriffs in rural California in the 80s, and that was bad for the culture. I'm not anti-cop like that. I hate what cops can be, but I understand where they need to be, and they needed to be out there back then. I've gotten super off track, and I don't even know what's going on with the inauguration. Oh my gosh, this is this guy talking. Anyway, where was I? I'm not sure where I was, and I'm not even hitting the thing anymore. That was the point. Just to get back to my story, I was telling you that I went to Orange County and got my hair done, and I had to sit through this thing, and maybe that's where like my deep deep dislike for this man really took hold. It was like a Clockwork Orange, where they have the guy's eyes are wide open, and he has to watch ultra violence in order to get cured, and bad things happen. I I could have closed my eyes. I could have said, put on some music, but I sat there and I watched The Apprentice for that full hour, recognizing that it was a horrible thing. And, here I am talking about it like I don't have better things to do on election day. But I I underestimated him. I'm not a I'm not a guy who changes his mind about a fucking racist. I think anybody who builds their campaign on xenophobia is irredeemable. That's just me. That's something I stand on. So no matter what superficial improvements he makes, I'm not buying it. I will. You cannot convince me. Maybe the time's coming when I get convinced, but I cannot imagine it. I just can't. Yeah, the Altadena thing. My son. I saw my son up in. That's what's called a great transition. I saw my son up in Oakland, and he was telling me about what it was like down here back in a couple weeks ago. And now that I'm down here, I'm in the suburbs, but I went into the city yesterday. I went into Glassell Park to see an old friend. What's up, Tommy? If you're out there watching tomorrow, because you're not watching live, clearly. Um, it's LA is so enormous, you would never know something happened until you sit down and you talk to someone, and then that's where you find out every other person knows somebody who lost a place or has family. Because Altadena, I hate to say it, I don't hate to say it. I don't know why I preface these things, but I hate to say it. But Altadena is a place where there's Black history. Prosperous people come from there. That's why I keep sharing that song from Rescue Me. Was it Fontella Bass? Fontella Bass her name's escaped me throughout history, but Rescue Me is a great song. And Karen Bass is our mayor. I haven't even looked hard enough to see if there's a relationship. I bet there is. No, and on the West Coast, it's hard to find like old money Black people. It really is, because Los Angeles is so transitory in its own right. People are just coming and going and picking up roots. Altadena represented some sort of like old, established, self-owned, autonomous place in Los Angeles. Octavia Butler, of course, is from there, and yeah. So for it to be mostly gone is it hurts. It feels irreplaceable. It feels like there's a scar. Yeah, it was wilderness in a way up there that you didn't get very many places. Black people certainly didn't get in LA. You can get that in Laurel Canyon here in LA. But how many Black people live in Laurel Canyon? Not many. I don't know if I've ever met a Laurel Canyon Black homeowner, and I spent time in Laurel Canyon. But you can do that stuff in the city limits of LA. LA is very varied. And for one of those places, the rare place to be gone, like they say Mount Washington is the Latino Beverly Hills. That's what Altadena was to Black people in a lot of ways. But it's different. It's almost like what Oregon has, the way that Black people will go out and actually go into nature in Oregon. The fact that you had Altadena, this neighborhood, really, not even a town, that was really ensconced in the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains is kind of amazing. I'm not even paying attention to the inauguration. I'm just going on. And it's only because I don't know how to deal with the fires, frankly. This is JD. I literally called him Jay-Z. Let's listen to the swearing in of JD Vance. Because you know Jay-Z. Nowadays, you never know.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith. That I will bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. And allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely. That I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation. Without any mental reservation. Or purpose of evasion. Or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge. And that I will well and faithfully discharge. The duties of the office. The duties of the office. On which I'm about to enter. On which I'm about to enter. So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Interesting to see Bill Clinton, how Bill Clinton is aged. I'm not sure. Is he 80 yet? He can't be 80. I feel like he's um, 20 years older than me. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's interesting to see him as an old man. He was one of the more vital presidents. I mean, he jogged at least. You saw him jogging. This is a president we saw jogging. And other things. I was thinking the other day, which president have we imagined naked most in history? And because of Stormy Daniels, it's obviously Trump. But Bill Clinton is
Please raise your right
a
hand.
solid number two, because I mean you're thinking about Bill Clinton not just exposing himself to women, but you're thinking about him getting head, and what did that first one, Jennifer Flowers said he ate good pussy. So you probably have less repetitive images of Bill Clinton than Donald Trump, but Bill Clinton's a very solid number two. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my rankings are completely flawed, but I that's just how I see it. Oh wait, the president's being inaugurated. We can talk about that other stuff later. Did it just happen? And I was talking about porn the whole time. Oh great, that's about par for the course, isn't it? You've heard someone swear to themselves, be sworn, and you've heard it all. Right? Oh, the relation. Look at that warmth between him and Melania. This is the most transactional relationship we've ever seen in the White House. I think he got a real one in that time. That's why he did two. He did a makeup kiss for the air kiss because he knew how that would play. This is America's executive producer. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're seeing here. I think JD seems genuinely happy. I think that the other Trump daughter, whose name no one knows her name. She's the least happy of the bunch. She's clearly on the outside for reasons that I'm not really sure about. I never followed that. Clearly I never learned her name. Yeah, this is just the return of white America, shoved right down your throat. There's not even a gesture. They're against it. They want us to know our place, and it ain't inside the fucking room. Is this the Capitol Rotunda? Is that where they are? No. Yeah. I'm not sure what Ted Cruz is here for, but I thought they were. I just got a note from someone who will not be watching, and I understand that. I think that anyone who's doing this with me is, well, clearly I'm the attraction, right? I think good for you for watching, and I look at this as an alternative to self harm. I think I try not to make it depressing. I know we're in for a rough time. I'm not here deceiving us, but I mean, I can't make a justification for watching this. There are 5 people in the room allegedly this whole time, and maybe some people will watch it later. If you do, thank you. But I'm not delusional. I think everything I've been saying up to this point says that we're acknowledging hard times are coming, and my tick is to make a joke of these things. I live in the eye of the storm here in Los Angeles. He didn't like us. The only place I could be more in the eye of the storm would be Portland. Also, Portland people, what's up? You got to roll with it. I think part of the reason you even follow this Substack is because you see me out there rolling with it, with the hard times and all that. Well, guess what? Hard times are coming your way. It may not be the kind of hard time like I have. Maybe it's going to be a 72-degree fascist regime. but things that you do not care for are going to be normalized. And I live with that shit all the time, baby. I think we're in this together, and putting your head in the sand is not the thing to do. You know, there's I'm smiling, so there's that. Don't get too inside of your own head. And if I am jailed, make sure you start a movement to save me. Anyway, I'm just kidding because I know they've got much bigger fish to fry. Yeah. I hope you can hear me. I hope this has worked out. I'm going to say goodbye.